Hey everybody, this is Brandon Luna, and I just wanted to let you know that the Luna Podcast Group is expanding. If you're a fan of Love to Hate, don't forget to check out our two brand new shows, Fright Flicks and Second Chance Cinema. Also, don't forget, there's a lot of great content on the Luna Podcast Group already. We've got 200 plus episodes of Calypso's Cigar Review and Cigars and Cinema. So check out all of our great content on the Luna Podcast Group at iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, or YouTube.
Hey kids, it's time for your weekly dose of Love to Hate. I'm Philip Fullman.
And I am Brandon Luna.
How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm reminiscing.
Yeah? Oh,
Yeah.
What are you reminiscing about?
The 80s.
And reminiscing. I think that's when that song came out, too.
Was it?
Yeah, something like that.
I know Cruisin' with Smokey Robinson came out then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
80s were good for me.
Were they?
I think they were.
So you and I were roughly the same age. We established that last week.
Right.
Do you consider yourself a child of the 80s? I call myself that, and then I look back and I'm like, man, but my childhood was the 70s.
Right.
But I was really, the things that I remember culturally and when I was participating in life, mostly 90s.
Right.
So what was the 80s? Was because I wasn't a kid, but I still feel like that was kind of my generation or my time.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of good memories of the 80s. That was my teenager years, So for me, it was a lot of crazy shit going on. And I think when you think of all the John Hughes stuff, it's always about those years, about being a teenager. Yeah. That middle point from, being...
And oddly enough, came out during the 80s.
Of course, yeah. So... Yeah, I mean, I consider myself a child of the 70s and a child of the 80s, really. And 90s was my adulthood, really, at that point. That was when I was in my 20s or 30s,
that's when we were still adults in our 20s. Now I don't
Right.
think adulthood happens till you're 40.
Yeah, something like that.
Because you move out of your parents' house at what, 30?
Nowadays, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. But
No,
the 80s...
I've got good memories of the 80s. I liked it. I have a buddy who I'll go back and forth who's like, the 90s were better. I'm like, nah, the 80s were.
I think the 90s were better musically. I think my wife is, she likes the 80s a lot. She's all about the 80s pop stuff. I don't really gravitate towards that as much as her. Like for me, the 80s was punk rock and, Misfits and Oingo Boingo and stuff like that. But, 80s was also hair bands.
Music in the 80s.
It's also hair bands and stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the MTV generation, though, man. It's the MTV years.
It really is.
the 80s.
Everything totally changed musically in the 80s. I think television changed. And MTV changing television and how we viewed it. And then that carried over, I guess, somewhat into the night. Well, I mean, it's still with us now. It's
not MTV. It's not music television anymore.
It's not music television, but when you look at the way soundtracks are used in television shows, the fact that there's no theme songs in television, you go straight to the show, the quick cuts, the rapid edits, that all started with music videos in the 80s.
Right.
And, part of our shorter attention span.
Yeah.
Go watch what comes to my Rockford Files. Go watch that, and then go watch an 80s cop show like Miami Vice. Completely different.
Completely different, yeah.
As far as just the pacing of it.
Right.
And again, I think that that comes from MTV.
Right. I mean, Miami Vice, let's be honest, was basically a long music video each week with some story to it.
It really was, especially that premiere episode.
Right.
I mean, they drove for 4 minutes while
in the air
Phil
tonight played.
Yeah. But we loved it. We didn't care.
Right.
Now I'm kind of like, all right, I'm okay.
I know the song.
Did I miss the drum solo? After the drum solo, I'm done.
Kind of lose, yeah. Right. But that's how it was. I mean,
and at the time, looking back through the eyes of an adult, you're kind of like, oh, yeah, that's not really believable, Rico and Sonny. But at the time, they were the coolest cops around.
Oh yeah, totally.
That was the greatest thing ever, man.
Right.
Man, I don't have to wear socks. I don't have to shave. I can wear linen.
Right. Pastel colors are okay now.
Oh yeah, that was
the white pants and the pink blazer and the The white wife beater underneath it, that shit back in those days.
That was kind of the thing. That's you can still.
I will never forgive the '80s for parachute pants. Fuck parachute pants. Those things are the ugliest goddamn. You had parachute pants, didn't you? You had some. Admit it.
Now, see, people keep confusing those with Zumbas, like the MC Hammer pants.
No. Parachute pants were the tight ones
with all the zippers.
With all the
zippers, yeah.
Yeah, they were made out of parachute material.
Yeah, because I keep.
You sweated like a million fucking. It was like, I don't know. It was horrible. They were awful. I had a pair and I hated them.
Well, it was basically the pants to go with the
members only jacket. Yeah.
Well, the members, but I was thinking the Michael Jackson.
Well, that too, yeah.
Jacket, the red jacket, and
the zippers.
Yeah, members only, man. I had 2 of those. That was Woo!
God, you were rich.
I love that.
I had members only. No, I'm just kidding. It was still members only. But they had all those knockoffs. Remember, they for a while there.
You had general admission,
right? Yeah, general admission.
That would be awesome. And now the only people who have members only jackets are like creepy. You tell your kids like, no. Come here, honey. Come here. Right. Stay away from the mailman. I mean, there's just who wears a members only jacket anymore.
Right.
But they were the coolest fucking thing at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Seemed like if you try to pull off a linen suit now.
Yeah.
I guess if you're in Florida, you can still maybe because of the weather. But now if somebody does it, it's just like, oh, my God.
Right.
But to this day, we don't have to shave.
Right. Thank you,
and before that, man, yeah. There's a clip of some dude trying to get into Studio 54.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy at the door is going, no, man. He goes, you can't get in here like this. Look at you. You didn't even shave. And you can barely see anything on the guy's face. Right. But he's like, well, you're unshaven. You can't come in here. Not so in the 80s.
Right.
Like, oh, you got stubble? Come on in, sir.
Right. Oh, he shaped the stubble. Oh, he's fancy.
Yeah. Well, you remember the Miami device?
No.
It was basically designed. It was like a beard trimmer designed to get you down to that stubble level.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was what it was called, the Miami device.
It was the late 80s when I grew my beard. I was out of high school, so I could grow.
Like a Ron Popeil thing or something? Is that what that
Sadly,
was?
It was not.
That's awesome. The
yeah.
Miami device.
But yeah, there was a lot of shit music, but there's a lot of music that I mean, again, then I picture it as like the soundtrack or just it's take you back to a specific time music.
Right.
To me, the quintessential, if you were to ask me, what was the album, what single album represents the 1980s to me? Huey Lewis and the News Sports.
Okay.
I just think the 80s with that. And the quintessential song was Take On Me by A-ha. That to me is just, that sums up my 80s.
So my 80s were a little bit different because I was, not a fan of...
either of those?
No, I liked Huey Lewis and the News, but...
not a fan of A-ha?
I wasn't a fan of A-ha, no. So for me, song. I think 80s, I think Thriller, I think Purple Rain, that was kind of my jam then. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I was.
Purple Rain holds up. Does Thriller?
It does to a degree. I think it's... I don't know, man. It's a little schmaltzy now. Purple Rain still got some edge to it. Because that was Prince, right?
Right.
So
while you're while you're thinking of the pop culture stuff, let's review. Reagan comes into office.
Okay.
Rides a wave in, defeats Mondale. I think he won all but Reagan won all but 2 states, I want to say. Assassinated or he shot 6 months, I want to say, after he's elected. Not very long after. By the way, John Hinckley, the son of a bitch who shot him, now apparently just able to go anywhere. He got so many releases. He's able to just go visit his parents unaccompanied.
Wow.
Yeah, apparently cured of his Jodie Foster fascination. And
well, look at her now. So.
Yeah, now he's like, oh, well, that was a mistake. I didn't know. If you'd have told me, then I would have.
But Sophie Vergara, we need to talk.
Yeah, now he's on her. I don't care what your politics or you try to assassinate the president of the United States, we kill you. This just shouldn't be a. I don't get that.
I don't get that either.
That makes no sense. It's like, well, he's crazy. Well, fuck yeah, he's crazy.
Right.
I don't think that necessarily means, that because you're crazy, you're exempt from the death penalty.
Right, and you get a free pass.
I mean, I feel sorry for the dog with rabies, but I realized, well, we kind of put it down for the best of it, for the rest of us. You had Reaganomics, the trickle-down theory, which did not do well at first. And then somewhere around, I think he was elected 81. So somewhere around 83, the economy starts to turn around. Things take off. You had the resurgence of Chrysler under Lee Iacocca and the Reliant K car.
Oh yeah, my dad.
I had one of those.
My dad was in sales. He had one of those.
Nice.
That was what they got.
That's classy, man. I mean, that's for those of us like your family and mine who couldn't afford the LeBaron of the New Yorker.
Right.
Let's see, and then later in the 80s, you had Iran-Contra, which we talked about.
A little bit in the 70s show, yeah.
A little bit. Reagan owning that. And the one thing I was going to talk about. We talked about.
Yeah, you remember it. Hey,
so you remember Russia invaded Afghanistan.
Right.
In the 1980s. Our current president was talking about Russia going in there because they were fighting terrorists in Afghanistan. It's like, I don't think that's the way history remembers that. I think it was pretty much straight up invading Afghanistan. I don't think Russia was going in to fight terrorists, but that's the latest take on that from the White House.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. Was just as far as these tweets and just stuff that comes out, like,
revisionist history.
Yeah, like I remember that, and I don't recall that was straight up invasion. You had the invasion of Grenada, which lasted like a day and a half.
Right.
When we went in, and because I think some medical students had been taken hostage. Right. So Reagan was not going to put up with that. That was after the Beirut bombing. That was done, which I forget how many Marines and soldiers, Air Force, Army died in that. But you had the barracks bombing in Beirut. You also had after that, I only remember this from story. I didn't see anything or come across it, but I do seem to remember a couple of bombs going into Libya after the Beirut bombing, and then Libya not becoming a problem after that.
Right.
Just kind of checking out. So, basically I think people would say the economy improved, the deficit did go up, but the economy improved in the 80s. Did it apply to everybody? I don't know. It seems to be one of those things that the rich got richer. But I think you came out of the 80s much better than you did in the 70s, because in the 70s it was just such a kick in the balls with everything, that we talked about last week. Gas crisis, terrorism, the Watergate, all of that. And now there's hope. Now all of a sudden you're like, fuck yeah, I'm American. We hosted the Olympics in 84 in L.A.
Right.
And there was just a different sense and a different pride. And you actually had hope. You actually believed the country was going to be okay. And then, of course, Reagan out of office. Bush, basically what people like to refer to as Reagan's third term. Right. Comes in on that. And then you had other stuff. You had the first launch of the space shuttle. You had the Space Shuttle Columbia go up. And then, of course, you had the Challenger accident that happened later in the decade.
I was there. Did you watch that?
Live when it happened? The school like, hey, look, a teacher's going up, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah. I remember that moment, man. That was weird stuff.
The advent, something I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more. The VCR, and it's go along. The camcorder that you could put the VCR tape in, and now you can record all of life's events. You also had the Atari, the personal computer that came about, the start of Apple, and then you had IBM doing personal computers, and some guy named Gates building their operating system, which I'm sure they probably thought, wait, because Gates had negotiated, okay, we'll build you an operating system, but we'll get a piece of it for every one you sell. By the way, this isn't an exclusive to IBM. we can write operating systems for anybody's machine. Which, how IBM didn't nail that down, I don't know. But brilliant on Gates's part. But I'm sure they were thinking, we build hardware. People need hardware. What's the big deal about an operating system?
Right.
Which, of course, that's where the money is. Cellular car phones became a thing. The brick phone.
I don't think I knew anybody that had one of those.
I knew one guy who had one because he had to carry it on the weekends to be the on-call manager. But that was it.
I remember seeing him in movies. Like it was a thing in the movies. But
video stores, because of the advent of the VCR, you had video stores come about. And the VCR led to the movie industry suing the VCR manufacturers for copyright infringement. Went to the Supreme Court, who found in favor of the VCR manufacturers, saying that was not a copyright violation. And everybody's original portable music system, the Sony Walkman.
Oh, yeah.
Changed everything.
Good stuff.
Because then you could, then when you were talking to people, you had he can't hear me. He's got his ear. What did we call? Just headphones. With the little orange sponge. We had those on.
You remember the going from tape to CD on those?
Oh, yeah. The Discman.
The Discman, yeah.
Yeah.
That was 80s too, right?
I think so, yeah, because I think CDs were tail end
80s, yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember
that was...
They sucked, though, because, you couldn't walk... With the tape one, you could walk and run
Well,
and do
remember,
I
think they eventually came up with the non-skip so you could jog.
Yeah, it had, a little bit of a delay. It probably had, 128 megabyte card in there that saved your song a little bit.
Yeah.
And then if you got too crazy with it. I remember getting one and going, watch, it won't skip. And then it skipped. You're like, fuck.
Because it was the same with cars. You put them in your car, and it's like, oh, it skips when I hit a bump.
Right, yeah.
And then they came up with a way so it would not skip.
Right.
When he did that. But, man, the Walkman was... Now, much like you and your parents, and they're spending all your food money on tennis, I could not afford a Walkman. I got the phony Walkman, or the faux Walkman.
Right.
And it was much bigger and red. And still heavy. That's the thing they never talked about.
Right.
The Walkmans were heavy.
Yeah.
And we didn't wear big shorts like we wear now.
Right.
We had little tiny running shorts.
Oh, no, you had a clip. Remember the clip?
Yeah, but okay, take the weight of the Walkman versus with the clip on your tiny little waistband of elastic, and you run with it and see what happens to your shorts.
Your pants are going to fall down.
You better have a string in there.
They had straps for them, too. Remember those? They had those straps for the Walkmans so you put it over your shoulder, But
yeah. It wasn't as cool.
Not as cool, no.
No,
looked like a tricorder at that point, like bones.
That's true, it did.
Yeah.
That was the coolest thing. Man, all of a sudden you got to go on a trip with your school, trip with your folks. Oh, yeah, look at here. Put on my Walkman. I'm listening to Aha or Cyndi Lauper.
Whatever you want to listen to, yeah.
Wham, make it big.
Right. Man, I was such a kid of technology growing up. Not so much with computers in the 80s because that was still a very new technology and I never got into it. But once VCRs came to the mix, I was a big fan of VCRs. Being able to go to a video store and get a movie and watch it again or see stuff that you missed in the theater in the 70s when you were a kid, being able to catch up on those was a big deal for me. Being able to record your own shows. It was just it changed everything.
Because all of a sudden you didn't have to be home and you could still watch it. You could record the game. Right. You could record anything.
Yeah, it was pretty fantastic.
How many people to this day... And I bet if I go into my box of VCR tapes that I've still yet to convert to disc or digital, that there's a box in there that has a TV show I taped. I probably have almost all of Next Generation on VHS in there that I just got to throw out. Because I don't even need to convert it over at this point.
Right.
Because I can stream it. But there was no streaming. That was, man, I can go to my friend's house and come back and watch whatever. A very special Different Strokes.
Yeah, it was good stuff, man. And you remember how big the VCRs were when they
huge.
first came out? They were like stereo receivers. I mean, they were huge.
You had to... Fortunately, we had the big console TVs.
Right.
Still, the carryover from the 70s. Because you had to put your VCR on top of something.
Yeah, it weighed a ton, and it took up a ton of space. And we had the old top loading, top load JVC back in the day.
I always liked those better.
Yeah. And I remember my dad's most nervous moment in my childhood because I was a tinkerer. I would always want to figure out how things worked and stuff. And we lived in New Braunfels. It was the 80s. Across the highway from us was it was one of those big metal buildings that sold feed and grain and stuff. But into that building, because the guy who owned the building was a big fan of movies, he had a little video store in there. So I'd cross the highway, go to the video store. He was a big horror movie fan, so he had all these like Italian horror flicks and like kung fu flicks from China and stuff. So all this really cool stuff that you couldn't get anywhere. But he also was a VCR repair shop. So when the VCR started fucking up and the heads were dirty, I went to go to him to get the head cleaner. He's like, "This'll do it, but goes, there's a better way to do it. If you really want to know, I'll teach you how to do it." And I'm like, "Really?" So he taught me how to clean the heads on a VCR. He taught me how to fix a jam tape. He taught me how to cut tape.
Rubbing alcohol?
Yeah, I was rubbing alcohol with the Q-tips, but they were like felt Q-tips. So they didn't have the
fuzz.
Yeah, didn't have the fuzz in it.
Yeah.
But I remember when my VCR broke, and we had about a good 3 weeks where I couldn't watch my movies. We couldn't record anything, and I was just fed up with it. I went and asked that guy. I'm like, "We need to get this fixed, but we're not rich. Can you show me how to do it?" And he showed me how to do it. Went home and my dad came home and the VCRs in pieces. He's like, "What the fuck?" He freaked out because those things were like $800, $500, whatever. A ridiculous amount of money back then. And I'm like, "No, I got this." So I cracked the head and cleaned everything out and put it all back together and got it working. And he was like, "This is great." So
thanks, son.
I saved the world, man. I took apart the reel-to-reel, fixed that back in the day. Did you ever have reel-to-reel?
We had a small one.
Yeah.
When I was growing up. For the house, and then when I went to work in radio, had the big reel-to-reels, and then we had an old one that one of the engineers was tossing, and I'm like, "You're just gonna put that in the dumpster?" So I took that and would screw around with it at home.
Yeah, those were great.
And that was great. And before we had the CD changer or the multiplayer CD, you could put hours and hours and hours of music on your reel-to-reel and just let that go.
Yep.
So I would do that.
I would get we'd record the Casey Kasem Top 40 on reel-to-reel, and I would take it and I would edit it. I would slice out the commercials and stuff and do the fade breaks and everything. So,
now I don't have a date on this. I'll show you to your hand a little bit more. This is a Panasonic OmniVision VHS on sale February 27th through March 9th. The 8-hour with an asterisk, so it says only if you use a specific type of tape. 8-hour home video cassette recorder with OmniSearch and wireless remote, like when remotes were still wireless,
right?
Or when you had to announce that it was wireless.
There was wired remotes back then, yeah.
Let you get in on the fun and excitement with ease. Offers an impressive array of features, including OmniSearch, rapid playback, 2-week, 2-program, electronic digital clock timer, and convenient one-touch recording. With Panasonic, the fun is at hand. You can pick this up at your local Kmart for $437.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a great, oh my God, it has OmniSearch. I don't know what the fuck OmniSearch is.
Yep. Do you remember standard SP, LP, and EP,
right?
So standard play, long play, and extended play.
And if you recorded a football game, you had to put it on standard, or long play.
Because you wanted the whole thing. So standard play was 2 hours. The long play was 4. Extended play was 6 to 8, depending on how long the tape was.
And you got better quality
in the standard play. Right. Yeah. So standard play was always the best. You get 2 hours, that's it.
Yeah.
But it looked fantastic for that.
Right.
Extended play was the 6 to 8 hours. If you had a 120-minute tape, you got 6 hours. If you had a 180-minute tape, which was a thinner tape, you could get 8 hours, but you run the risk of the tape breaking and stuff. And yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, because you'd go to the store and you had to buy blank tapes.
Yep.
Stock up.
You record over the tapes. And then I remember the guy that also taught me about the demagnetizer. He's like, if you want your tapes to, because when you record over tapes over and over and over, just like with audio, it degrades over time and the image isn't as great. And, so you would get the demagnetizer and just completely erase the tape. It'd be like new, and then record over it again.
Yeah. I don't think I ever did that with my video. I might have.
Yeah.
I might have gone to the
I got one of those back in my Blockbuster days. Remember, I worked for Blockbuster.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, yeah. I learned all that good stuff. Now, I actually worked for, we don't have HEB everywhere, but it's a chain of grocery stores in the San Antonio, Texas area. It's
basically,
East Texas. And they had HEB's Video Central, which was competing with Blockbuster. So I worked at Video Central first, and they actually had the headquarters for Video Central in San Antonio, and I got to go over there and cross-train on how to fix videotapes, how to take them apart, how to repair them, and all this stuff, because they wanted us to, they didn't want to, if videotapes were $80-$90 back then. They weren't like DVDs are $5 in a bin at Walmart. If you wanted a copy of a movie, you either rented it and watched it, or you bought it for $100, and that was for a videotape. So they wanted us to keep those going. So if any videotape ever came back broken or whatever, I could go there, slice it, fix it, and put it back on the shelf.
And it was good to go.
Yeah.
What's the first big video store outlet you remember? A big. You said you worked at the HEB.
Video Central, was
Video
the big
Central.
one there in San Antonio, and then Blockbuster. Blockbuster kind of took over
I remember
everything.
Major Video. Did you guys ever have that?
Yeah, I remember.
That
Major
was
Video.
I remember Major Video, and that was the big thing. Then it was Blockbuster. Then there was what, Hollywood Video, or wait, what was it?
It was Hollywood Video.
Was it Hollywood Video?
Yeah, now you got Family Video. That's like one of the few ones around still.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it.
I don't know either.
Because everything now is just,
It's all streaming.
Stream it or
Redbox.
Yeah. I mean, or just, you rent it on your
Amazon.
device.
Yeah.
So you don't really need it.
Yeah. But back in the
Or
day,
hell,
man,
you can go buy the disc a lot of times for as much as it costs you to rent it.
Right. And so I think probably late 80s is when the prices on VHS tapes, where they started to realize people wanted to own these things, and they started marking them down to like $19 and stuff, and you could buy Raiders of the Lost Ark on VHS for $20 instead of $100. But
they became mass marketed.
It took a while before. It was probably a good 5-6 years before Blockbuster really had a section where you could buy movies, and they were relatively inexpensive. And I do remember buying a lot of used VHS at Blockbuster and the like, because they would mark them down after they had 80 million copies of one movie. 6 months down the road, you could buy a used copy for $5-6, but it was usually pretty
crappy.
fucked up.
Yeah, because 4,000 people
had watched it. Yeah,
yeah. Please
and
be
not
kind.
rewind it. Exactly. Yeah.
Something nobody will ever know.
Yeah.
Yeah, going forward, it has no significance.
Yep. Be kind, rewind. Yep. I remember we had loads and loads. We had like 6 to 8 rewinders there at Blockbuster.
Yeah, you just pop it in and just rewind them all.
Charge everybody the $1 fee to rewind it.
And man, that was like high tech. I remember that was, again, just that thing where it's like, man, look at the times we're living in. I can see a movie that was in a theater on a video recorder in my home. And I've got a remote, and I can play and pause it. I can stop it. I can go put a microwave pizza in the oven or in the microwave, and what else is there? How can life possibly get any better than this?
Right.
It's one thing we didn't talk about, microwaves in the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
That
a big
was
deal. They were scary in the 70s.
They were huge.
They were huge.
Ours was
noisy.
Gigantic.
Yeah, it was huge, noisy, and like the first time you put foil in there and you don't realize you're not supposed to, it scares the shit out of you. Or God forbid there's a fork in the plate and you forgot about it. And sparks and fire. Scary shit. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, that was I think my parents always forewarned me about that. I don't think I ever made that mistake. I'm not sure. I may have. Mm-hmm. But I remember that was just... I remember one time, what was it? They were cooking something. I'm like, you don't have a microwave. How are you going to do it? It was like, I think it was hot dogs.
Yeah.
And it was like, what, you boil them? I'm like, what?
Right.
I'm like, this seems crazy. I mean, you just put them in a microwave for 30 seconds and you're done. You like, oh my God, you poor people.
Yeah. How into VHS were you? Like, did you have a VCR of your own and everything? And
after high school. After high school, I think, I was already working. So I had, and growing up, I always had some form of TV. We talked about the little,
the little
TV
black and
radio.
White. Yeah, TV
I had one of those in my room. So I had the regular 3 network channels that everybody had. But late 80s, I think it was after high school, I got my own television, a Sony, of course, because everything had to be Sony.
Yeah.
And my dad ran cable. I don't know what the statute of limitations is, but my dad's gone, so I don't think they can prosecute him more.
He was stealing cable.
Yeah, but totally stole cable. We
Yeah.
had it, every room in the house pretty much. So I had cable in my bedroom, and then a VCR, which I don't even remember what it took to hook the VCR up so that it would get the cable feed as well. I think it was
Right.
cable feed into VCR,
VCR to
into
television,
TV.
yeah. And you had to program the VCR to get all the channels, yeah.
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 And then I had a
TV stayed on
huge,
channel 3.
awesome rack system stereo, which
Nice.
I miss to this day.
Yeah, I had one of those too.
I had
Yeah.
speakers that would drive the neighbors like 3 blocks down crazy. I love that freaking thing because I was so into heavy metal at the time.
Right, me too.
You could just turn that up and shake the house.
Yep. I had an old Sansui, big, heavy wood speakers.
Yes,
that
yes.
sounded fantastic.
All my stuff was Sony.
Right.
The Sony VCR, Sony. And I remember thinking it was cool because I had stereo speakers. So if I watched MTV, I would hear it through the stereo. And I forget how long it took me to figure out how to hook that up.
Go out from the VCR into the stereo into the auxiliary. Boom, you're good. Yeah. And then 5.1
That's
came
why
out.
you're our engineer. That's stuff that I have to think about. It's just second nature.
Right.
But the first video I watched with that setup, "Rock the Cradle of Love," Billy Idol.
Nice.
And I remember just turning that up and hearing my mom go, "Turn it down." It was like, damn it. Fortunately, it's horrible. God. I don't like myself now. No, I remember when my mom would leave the house. My dad was deaf. He very hard to hear. So I had a lot more leeway before he'd knock on the door. And when he would do it, it was kind of like, look, if I'm knocking on the door telling you I can feel this shit thumping the floor, you need to turn this shit down. Like, all right, I get it. If you can hear it, it's a little loud.
I was a big headphones guy. I always had really nice headphones, and
Yeah, I didn't get my first good pair of headphones until I went to work in radio. And then I would do that some at the house.
yeah. So I was big into video. I wanted to be video production back then in the 80s. That was what I wanted to do. So I would buy the best VCR. I remember when the flying erase head VCR came out. Do you remember what that was? Mm-mm. So VCRs back in the day, I mean, you could literally, if you're recording, say, Mork and Mindy or whatever, right? You could pause it at the commercial. The 2 minutes would come up, you'd unpause it, and then you'd basically watch a show without commercials.
Right.
But you would also get this, what I call the rainbow effect. You'd get this rainbow line that would go across the image until it went down to the bottom and it went away. Well, the flying erase head took that rainbow effect out, so you just had a clean cut. And I bought this Sony VCR. It was $1 million. I remember it had this little pull down thing and had the editing dial, so you could actually back it up to the exact frame you wanted it to, and it would be a clean cut.
What?
It was great. It was for editing. So I used to record all the TV
Sounds like
shows
stuff we
with
had
that.
the TV station.
Yeah. It was badass. It was great. I loved that
Man.
VCR. I had that VCR forever.
I never learned TV editing. I never learned video editing with using actual tape, like at the TV station. I never did that. Now, when I make videos like for the shop, I can edit them on my iPhone using iMovie.
Yeah.
But I can't. You're limited as to what you can do. But I'm surprised I can do that. I wish I would have learned that.
Yeah.
And I know now if I was to learn it, I'd be learning digital anyway, so it wouldn't really
Right.
freaking matter, and it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
But although what you do with the show, not that we ever have mistakes that you edit out, but the digital audio, I'm not good with that.
Yeah.
I haven't figured that part out yet.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot simpler. It's a lot more simple, I'll tell you that. Like just in the ease of use and everything that goes along with it, I can pretty much drop into any system and figure out a way to do basic stuff. But it's gotten so advanced now,
It's just the skill level is
it's
not
ridiculous how much you can do on the fly. Even even the mixer we've got, I can add effects and all kinds of crazy stuff. I haven't figured it out yet, but that's great. That
I look forward to the day when that's hello big time. Once you figure out how to drop in the rim shot,
exactly. Yeah,
that's really what's keeping us back.
But yeah, you go from audio cassette, Walkman, right, to Discman, to discs. Do you remember the first CD player you had in the 80s?
Oh yeah, that was part of my
part of your Sony thing, right?
Yeah, and it was I had the CD carousel.
Oh yeah, the changer.
Oh yeah.
Oh, was it the big one that had the 100 or whatever?
No, it had 5 or 6.
Okay, so
and I had the
popped
dual
open.
Yep.
turn.
I had the dual cassette,
yeah,
turntable, receiver where I could do all the mixing,
right,
and
had the EQ.
Yeah, and I think that's basically it. You had cassette, CD, and turntable, and then the receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish to this day I still had that system.
Yeah,
that was
greatness.
Great, man.
At one point, I think this is probably the 90s, I had the 100 disc changer Sony that you could put 100. It was like a jukebox, basically.
Yeah, we had that. I remember, man, what did they call it? We called it Jock in a Box, but there was a name for it because one of the radio stations implemented it, and we were all looking at each other like, so what the hell are we here for?
Right.
And basically, you're there because somebody's got to watch the
board,
transmitter, and make sure it doesn't screw up.
The one I had.
But it would count you down.
Right.
Which you're watching this screen, and I mean, before it was all light cues. I don't know if you know how that works on the cart as you're recording, because you would record from an LP to this thing that looked like an 8-track, a little bit smaller, and that's what you would play music on at the radio station, so you didn't have to cue up the album.
Yep, I hated.
And so you knew how to when you're coming up on the end of the song, you would push a button on the cart recorder, and it would flash a light or put a mark on that cart, so a light would flash in the studio and go, okay, 10 seconds. And you put it 10 seconds before the end of the outro. It's right there on the label. Light goes on. You're like, I got 10 seconds to the end of the song.
Right.
Or you do it for the intro. And you'd put, okay, here's how long the intro is. With the computer, it told you exactly, okay, we're counting you down. You have 15 seconds till this song starts. Or the song ends in 6 seconds. You didn't have to do anything. And it would play itself, so you didn't have to push buttons to go from cart to cart to cart. We had 3 of those jukeboxes, and it'd queue up one, go queue up the other.
Right.
And it was like, well, man, radio's becoming easy.
Yeah. That 100 disc changer that I had, that Sony one, actually had a memory built into it, and there was a mode that you could turn on where it would play. It would change discs, and it
while
would have
still playing,
and it would fade into the next song.
Oh man!
So for parties, it was great. You just put whatever you want in there.
You know what? I remember that.
Yeah.
Because I remember that was the thing at the station was you don't want to. You don't want, of course, just to have a song start cold. You always fade in,
right?
And that the disc changer did it. I was like, God damn it! It's like you could run a radio station from your bedroom.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So disc jockey, and look at what radio is today. Man, you really don't need disc jockeys. And you have a lot of guys working at a lot of stations, and you'll hear somebody doing mornings in multiple locations, or a guy does mornings in say Austin, afternoons in Dallas, because he lives in Dallas and it's all just recorded. So all of that came about in the 80s.
Crazy
but
stuff.
There was still some good radio. You still kind of had the morning zoos.
Yeah.
In the 80s. Which is kind of what I always associated radio was supposed to be, kind of like that. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
We're going to be out at the HEB. We're going to be giving away some bumper stickers. Come on by. See us. Check us out.
Yep.
Here's the latest from Oingo Boingo. It was always just, hey, very hyper.
Right.
Exciting.
God, you remember when radios used to do stuff like that? Like, I remember they had
crazy promotions.
Yeah, the premiere of Hunt for Red October. They were doing a thing called the Hunt for Red October Freeze Out. And they had these blocks of ice, and you'd come out and you'd sit on the block of ice, and whoever could stay there longest would get tickets to the movie and some swag.
Do you remember when they would do the crazy stuff, and people would cut their cars in half with a chainsaw to get tickets?
Right.
The big one we did in El Paso, I wasn't in radio at the time, was it was a Jello jump, and to win tickets, you jumped into a thing of Jello.
Wow.
So. Yeah, there were all sorts of crazy my station, I was never there for any of those. But I remember going out and doing remotes on like Friday night to different clubs. I was like, hey, he's going to be here. Come on, check him out. It's going to be fantastic. And then you got the fucking keychain. Like you show up at this remote. There's not even a jock there yet, you know. It's like the intern and like some people out of the sales department.
Right.
And they're giving out like keychains. It's like, well, this blows.
Keychains and koozies.
Yeah. that was pretty much it. Or a free T-shirt.
Right.
That was always a big deal. Because it always had like a movie on it. Mm-hmm. You know, whatever movie you're promoting, whatever they gave you tickets to. I always had, I think I got it in the 80s. It was a Tom Hanks, Big. And I wore that. I had that shirt for years. Because that was, I think that was 80s or early 90s.
Yeah, probably.
What else? Because to me, there was a lot of good movies that I remember and love from the 80s. And then there's some that I'm sure are just complete horseshit.
Right.
What
Here's
comes to mind?
Here's a list of, gosh, goodness here. Let's see what we got. We got everything. 80s, 65 best 80s movies ever made. And this is from, that's what it says. I don't know what to say. So awesome, number 65 on the list is Short Circuit from 86.
Gutenberg.
Yeah, The Goot. Lady Hawk from 85.
Wow.
Do you not like Lady Hawk?
I'm trying to remember who was in it. Matthew Broderick?
You had Rutger Hauer.
It was like a medieval thing, right?
Yeah, and Michelle Pfeiffer. Where Rutger Hauer's like...
Okay. I've never seen it.
You've never seen Lady Hawk? What?
Again, not a Matthew Broderick fan.
Tootsie?
He's done one good movie.
You've seen Tootsie. Which movie are you giving him?
Ferris Bueller's Day
Godzilla?
Off.
No, Godzilla.
Ferris versus the Lizard?
Ferris versus the Lizard.
Every time I see Matthew Broderick, he's in the producers, I'm like, it's Ferris Bueller.
I'll give him Biloxi Blues over Ferris Bueller. I hated Ferris Bueller. I really didn't like that movie.
You know what? I got called in sometimes in high school.
Did you really?
Ferris.
You were Ferris, yeah.
I got away with a lot of shit.
Tootsie in 82.
Yeah.
That's a big movie. Desperately Seeking Susan, the arrival of Madonna.
I told you about... Did I ever tell you about that?
No.
A buddy and I walked... It seemed a long way, and I've actually gone back now. I've gone back to El Paso. Like, how far did we actually walk? It was like 4 fucking miles to the movies from his, like, mom's house.
Yeah.
To go see Desperately Seeking Susan because we thought Madonna was naked. And we get there, and you get to see, like, what was it, Rosanna Arquette? Mm-hmm. We get to see her boobs for half a second. I was like, man,
right,
that sucks. That was, yes.
4 miles one way.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, that's right. A teenage male without a car and without the internet. 4 miles to hopefully see Madonna's boobs.
And you didn't get to see them.
Yeah.
But God, she showed them later in that sex book, I'll tell you that.
She did. That was
and
the 90s.
Much more, yeah.
Yeah.
The Untouchables in 87.
Excellent movie.
Great movie.
That's the Chicago way.
Yeah. You bring your, what was the line?
He brings a knife, you bring a gun. He puts one of your men in the hospital, you put one of his in the morgue. Right. That's the Chicago way.
And that's how you beat Capone. Yeah.
That's
good
good.
Stuff. Valley Girl in 83, that was the
Nick
Cage's first big deal.
That was a big, Valley Girls were big early 80s.
Yeah,
you got the phrase gag me with a spoon and the song Moon Unit Zappa.
Right.
Frank's Kid.
Yep. Baby Boone in 87, I was never a big fan of Baby Boone.
Was that one of the
Diane Keaton thing? Yeah. Wasn't
later a TV show.
Right.
That also sucked.
This is a big one for me. I love this movie. To Live and Die in L.A. in 85 was the William Friedkin's kind of answer to Miami Vice, like a grittier Miami Vice.
Yeah.
Wang Chung did the soundtrack. It was
That's right.
William Peterson. And did you ever see the movie?
I want to say I did, but I'm not.
So it was one of the movies that like defined kind of the 80s and the don't give a fuck attitude because the main character dies in the last couple minutes of that movie, and you're just like,
spoilers?
What? Yeah. No, it's an old-ass movie. But it never happened. I mean, you never saw a main character die in a movie. That was just not something that happened.
Maybe I'm confusing it with Less Than Zero.
Better Off Dead was 85.
$2. I want my $2.
Yep. Friday the 13th in 80. So big start to the genre there with the Friday the 13th.
It was a big day for you.
Steel Magnolias in 89. Can't stand that movie. So overacted, just horrible. Here's a great one, though. Beverly Hills Cop in 84. God, such a great flick. Still holds up, too. Funny.
It really does.
Yeah,
it
still
really
a very funny movie. Dead Poet Society in 89, so right at the end of the 80s.
Yeah.
Great movie. When Harry Met Sally, one of my all-time favorites, also in 89.
I will have a piece of your pecan pie.
Pecan pie.
That was a good movie.
Great movie.
That was. And it kind of introduced the world to Harry Connick Jr.
Right. Yeah.
With that,
big time,
before that, he was kind of not as well known.
Right. That put him on the map. Yeah. Color Purple in 85, Oprah Winfrey acting.
Yeah.
And, the movie that Whoopi Goldberg should have got an Oscar for, but she got it later for Ghost, whatever. Hannah and Her Sisters in 86.
Well, that was a Woody Allen film.
Woody Allen, yeah. Great flick by Woody Allen. Raging Bull in 80. So
You
big
fuck
movie.
my wife. You fuck my wife.
Yeah, big
Yeah,
movie
that
for
was
Scorsese.
that was really when De Niro started getting some. People started talking about him the way he just would lose himself in a role.
Yeah.
Because of the change he went through playing LaMotta.
One of my personal favorites. This is easily a top 10 movie for me. Broadcast News in 87. Love Broadcast News. That was one of
That
those.
is so good.
I remember specifically 2 movies, Broadcast News and When Harry Met Sally. I went on both of those with dates.
Yeah.
And it was both of those films when both individually, 2 different girls at both of those films. I don't get it. It wasn't funny. Like, I can't date you anymore.
Done.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Just, you know.
Oh my God, Broadcast News is hilarious. To be fair, you got to know a little bit, or you got to at least be interested, I think. But it's not. It doesn't bury the lead. Broadcast News. You can get the humor.
Yeah.
I think. But man, Albert Brooks was great in
He's
that.
so fantastic in that.
And Holly
Should've
Hunter
gotten an
was
Oscar.
fantastic.
Yep.
And
Aliens in 86.
yeah.
They bring back that was the first real big Cameron comeback movie after Terminator and stuff. So
when they
did
made
very
it
well
into
for
an
him.
action flick.
Right. The Verdict in 82 with Paul Newman. One I didn't see in the 80s. I saw it later in life, and it was a very good movie. But, you know, I remember it being a big deal, and I just never saw it. Roger Rabbit, big one,
Yeah.
88. Robert Zemeckis, you know.
The other thing I hated about that was the guy who did the voice. They gave him I think he had like a sitcom for a minute. They wanted to start putting him in things. He's like, oh, he's the guy who does the voice of Roger Rabbit. It's like,
Right.
He's a voice actor. He was
a comedian. But
Yeah,
he wasn't
but
a
it's
great
like-
comedian. Yeah.
Yeah,
Chariots of Fire was a big one. That was the best picture of 81.
I actually did like Chariots of
A
Fire.
Great flick. Crimes and Misdemeanors. Another Woody Allen in 89. And Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in 89 as well.
Theodore S. Logan.
You killed Ted, you medieval dickweed.
Be
Fast.
excellent to one another.
Right. Yeah, fucking.
That's
gotta
still.
love that,
I
yeah.
still think that's Keanu's best.
Such a
film.
great movie. Fast Times at Ridgemont High in 82.
It's my skull.
Classic movie. The Thing in 82 as well. One of the easily John Carpenter's best movies. Blue Velvet in 86 was kind of the happening of David Lynch at that point.
That was a good movie.
Yeah. Platoon was a big one for Mr. Oliver Stone in 86.
That man, it's almost like 2 movies to me because you have the first part with Arlie Ermy where
Oh, no, that's Full Metal Jacket.
oh that's right, Platoon. Sorry,
Yeah.
you said Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
Never mind. I'm
Yeah,
an idiot.
That's Stanley Kubrick, Full Metal Jacket.
Yes.
That is completely 2 different movies because you got the beginning with Arlie.
where it's kind
Yeah.
of funny,
Right, and then
you're laughing, and then all of a sudden
it's
he
war.
gets shot, and you're like, oh, holy shit! And then that changes the
Yep.
tempo of the movie. Yeah, Platoon. I do. Yeah, that was Charlie Sheen,
Willem Dafoe, Tom
Okay.
Berenger, big role for Tom Berenger. It made him a star. It didn't last long, but it made him a star.
No, God, the only thing I remember him from other than that is Major League.
Major League, yeah. There was one movie he did with Sidney Poitier that was like and Mr. Krabs was the bad guy in that one. The guy from Highlander, what's his name? Clancy Brown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a good flick. I can't remember the name of it now, but that was a good flick with Tom Berenger.
I loved it in the 80s.
Working Girl in 88.
Melanie Griffith, Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Always weird to watch him in a romantic comedy.
Yeah, I didn't like that movie. Can't Buy Me Love in 87 was the non
Oh,
John Hughes,
what
John
was
Hughes
it?
movie.
Patrick Dempsey and
Yep.
that actress committed suicide not too long ago.
She did.
I remember that. I do like that movie.
Rare's Lost Ark in 81.
Yeah.
One of the best movies ever. Top 10 for me. Weird Science in 85, which I thought was a piece of crap, but
I didn't really dig Weird
a lot of people like it. Mystic Pizza in 88, hated it.
Yeah.
Risky Business in 83, world's introduction to Tom Cruise.
And made Bob Seger a buck or two.
It did, yeah. Terminator in 84.
Yeah.
So, big
that
one.
was
St. Elmo's Fire, John Hughes growing up movies.
yeah,
Not a John
you
Hughes
got
movie, but
yeah, because you had the Brat Pack in there, and
doing college
do you
stuff.
remember the name of the song, the theme song, and who did it?
St. Elmo's Fire?
Yeah, who did it?
Shit, I don't remember that guy's name.
John Parr.
John Parr. Yeah. Okay, I'll let you have that.
Song about a dude in a wheelchair doing a race. By the way,
Oh, yeah?
yeah, that was actually the inspiration. They somehow worked in St. Elmo's Fire.
Nightmare on Elm Street in 84. Big one.
Yeah,
Big genre flick. Here's one of the best movies ever made and one of the best Christmas movies ever. Die Hard, 88.
absolutely. Oh, such a great movie.
I watched it a couple of days ago, yeah. Karate Kid, 84, which is that movie still pretty much holds up.
Wax on.
Wax
Wax off.
The Outsiders in 83. another big movie for Francis Ford Coppola. I remember that was one of the ones I remember reading the book and going to see the movie and going, oh, they got it right. Caddyshack in 80.
Yeah.
So Ghostbusters in 84.
That was a great... That still holds up.
Yeah, Ghostbusters is great. Vacation in 83.
Yeah, I still love Vacation.
Out of Africa, Sidney Pollack in 86. Another movie I didn't see when it came out, but I watched it later and went, you know what? Good movie. So in 88, you had Heathers with Christian Slater and Winona Ryder. It was the dark comedy.
I think it was dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was kind of the anti-John Hughes movie again.
Right. Christian Slater doing his best Jack Nicholson impersonation. Yeah. The Goonies in 85 was a big hit for everybody.
How do you like The Goonies?
I do not like The Goonies.
I never saw it till I was an adult.
Yeah.
Did not like it.
Well, when you're a kid, you like it because it's, fun. But when you're an adult, it's kids screaming for 2 hours and it's just not really
But in this, let's see if it shows up on the list.
Okay. Flashdance in 83.
What a feeling.
What a feeling indeed. Terms of Endearment. Depressing fucking movie.
Oh my God.
83.
So you know who they originally offered the Jack Nicholson role to?
Who?
Burt Reynolds.
What?
Turned it down to do Cannonball 2.
That was probably a better decision for him at that point in his career, I think.
I could have gotten another Academy Award.
Yeah,
or could have gotten a Academy Award, I should say.
Right. Coming to America in 88.
That was...
Probably the last good movie by Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. He was one of those guys, he was funny, ego got out of hand, and then it was just like, I can do anything and it'll be funny.
Right.
Pluto Nash, I'll do it.
Wasn't the case, yeah.
No.
Once you got to Golden Child, it kind of really turned pretty bitter. Poltergeist in 82, fantastic movie. Tobey Hooper, Mr. Chainsaw Massacre.
Very
did that
scary.
One.
Yeah, that was really creepy.
It was. Pretty in Pink in 86, not a fan.
Ducky. You didn't like that?
Did not like Pretty in Pink.
I did. James Spader's always just a sleazeball to me. I don't care what he's in. I hate James Spader.
Here's a great one, and probably one of the better Stephen King adaptations, Stand By Me in 86.
That's the one I was going to ask you about. Because, again, kids.
It holds up, though.
Yeah.
That's a great movie. I mean, River Phoenix does a great performance in that.
Chris O'Donnell, Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton, probably the best thing he's done. I mean...
Yeah, or ever will do.
Yeah, right. Corey Feldman actually acting in something, not playing Corey Feldman,
That was solid. Kiefer was in it, too.
Yeah, Kiefer was great as the bad guy. Yeah. Top Gun in 86 was the MTV movie that started it all.
Zone.
The Bruckheimer-Simpson
and
era.
We'll get to watch the sequel next year.
Yeah.
It's called Maverick.
That'll be fun. Oh, they call it after him.
This
and
one's
he's
called...
not even the main star.
Oh, is he just kind of he's the Tom Skerritt role?
He's the Tom Skerritt role, yeah. So they're going to have
Didn't
somebody else.
Skerritt have to go up and fly in Top Gun, though?
Yeah.
Okay, so Cruise is going to get into a fighter plane.
Of course, yeah. Of course. And he's probably really doing it himself because he does all his own stunts and shit. So.
Absolutely. You know what? I read something today where they were talking about how good Henry Cavill was in the last Mission Impossible Fallout. And for a split second, I almost rented it.
It's good, dude.
And then it's like, fuck.
It's good.
I don't want my money going to Scientology.
It's a fucking good movie.
It's Tom Cruise. I don't want my money going to Scientology. So you would recommend it as a rental?
I would recommend it as a rental, yeah. I enjoyed it.
I don't want to support L. Ron Hubbard. I feel like I'm supporting him.
You already quit a job once, all right? You gotta have
That's
a little
true.
leeway.
Yeah, all right, fine.
Driving Miss Daisy in 89.
That was a good movie, man.
Great movie.
Shirley MacLaine was fantastic in that.
Probably one of the most perfect movies ever made in the history of all of history. Back to the Future in 85.
I do like it. We've talked about this.
Yeah, I know.
It's a good movie. I just, it's good.
It's the ultimate callback movie. Like everything in the first 20 minutes is callback later in the film. Mm-hmm. It's all right there in black and white for you. Say Anything was a big hit in 89.
I love that movie.
Great movie.
To this day. Did I tell you the first time? I may have told you, but I don't know if I've said it on the show. I went to see that. I ditched a class to go see that when I was in college. And I liked it so much I went and got another ticket and watched it again.
It's a movie that changes as you get older.
Absolutely. It is like Catcher in the Rye.
Right.
You read it at one age, and, then you come back and read it as an adult. You're like, Holden needs to be whooped.
Right.
Somebody needs to spank that kid. He's spoiled. Same with Say Anything. At the end of it, you're like, oh, my God, look, they're going to go off to England. They're going to be together. And as an adult, you're like, I give it 6 months.
Exactly.
You know,
Right. Like you're looking at John Mahoney's character going, yeah, he's right. That kid's kind of a dumbass, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he's still very likable, and it's like, hey, he's a good kid, but it's like, hey, man, look, that's not how things work, and
yeah,
you're gonna have to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I
don't want to do anything, buy anything, or I don't want to sell anything, buy anything, or process anything that's sold or bought. I don't want to sell anything or buy anything that's processed. And
right.
His whole thing, and doesn't want to join the army.
Right.
You know.
But he does join the army, and he becomes a contract killer.
In Grosse Pointe Blank.
Yeah. Can't go home, but you can shop there. E.T. Extraterrestrial. It's a great line.
I still love that line where he asks the guy, are you okay? He's like, no, I'm hurt. Got to find a new job.
Right. I love just that whole scene with you got the song playing in the car, the Live and Let Die, and then it goes to the Muzak version. It's so fucking awesome. Like just that.
So well done.
What are you doing here? Who
are you?
Who? What?
I'm working a double shift.
How long have you worked here?
You know what? Never mind. What's done is done. Oh, Dr. Altman, you can't go home again, but you can shop there.
Go to your reunion. Just give it a shot.
Yeah.
No, I'll give it a shot.
Don't give it a shot.
No, don't give it a shot. Don't shoot anything. Great movie. Great. We're talking about Grosse Pointe Blank, by the way. See it if you haven't seen it. It's one of the best movies that John Cusack ever made. E.T. the Extraterrestrial in 1982 does not hold up. That's one of those second chance cinema movies we'll probably do.
I agree.
Yeah, just a great movie in 1982, but you watch it now and you're like, it's a toy. It's just awful. And God forbid you see the altered version. Did you ever see that?
With the
CGI
cell phones instead of the guns.
Yeah, well, not only that, but they do the CGI bathtub scene with the E.T. Yeah, it's bad. Footloose in 1984
holds up.
It does. John Lithgow, great in that movie, great actor.
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. Beetlejuice in 1988.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm still waiting for a sequel to that one. 16 Candles in 1984. Probably my favorite John Hughes movie, besides Breakfast Club, I would say.
I do like it. You know what line I remember from that? You know what I liked most about Waking Up With You? What's that? Waking up in your arms. These things? Or no, what I like most about Waking Up With You? My clean clothes shave.
Right.
Waking up in your arms. These things?
Right. Most unlikely situation ever.
Yeah, the fact that Anthony Michael Hall, who turned into a pretty decent adult actor.
Yeah. He's doing good work. He was in freaking The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Princess Bride in 1987, one of my all-time favorites. Great movie.
Great. If we had a wheelbarrow, that'd be something. That movie is timeless.
Stop that rhyming now. I mean it.
He's only mostly dead.
God, so great.
Never go up against a Sicilian when death is
on the line. Yep. The Shining in 1980. Kubrick. Classic that Stephen King hates. Dirty Dancing. Can't stand this movie, but it's so loved. 1987.
I'm not a fan of the Swayze.
It's I like Patrick Swayze in certain roles. I liked him in Red Dawn. I loved Roadhouse, even though it's a big giant piece of shit. But Dirty Dancing, I just couldn't get on board with. Number one, it bugs me that there was modern music in something that's supposed to take place in the 50s or whatever.
Right.
And it also bugged me that he's like 80 and he's supposed to be dating this teenage girl. It kind of eeked me out when I saw it. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Here's yours. 1986. There you go.
It's the only decent thing he's ever done.
Yeah.
That's how it is in their family.
Yeah. See, that's creepy now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, completely.
Breakfast Club in 1985. Great movie.
Still love that movie.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of really good flicks back then, man. Some good stuff.
That was their entire list.
That's their entire list.
Did we just run through 65 films?
We did. We did. This
so
podcast
they gave breakfast
is now an hour and a half long. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, my God. But they would have stuck with us because this has been so damn entertaining.
Right. Breakfast Club is number one.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a solid movie, man.
It is.
I don't get sick of it. And it's one of those where, not like Say Anything, where all of a sudden you view it different. I mean, you do view it differently being an adult versus being in high school at the time. Mm-hmm. But it's still so relatable to be like, yeah, I get it. I was there. I remember that kid, or I remember this kid. It's
funny when you hear Molly Ringwald's opinion on it now, because she's talked about how misogynistic those movies are, and there's some truth to that, but it's something you watch. Like for me, like I can watch Friends now and go, ooh, like that joke was written by a guy, and they put that in Phoebe's mouth or whatever. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of that stuff that it doesn't age as well over time. I don't see it with Breakfast Club. I still think it's a portrait of time and place. In that time, it was relevant.
Well,
it made sense.
When are you able to portray characters with negative personality traits and not see that as an endorsement?
Right.
I mean, it's like, okay, the movie calls for us to have a drug lord who kills a family. That doesn't mean we're not advocating for that.
Right.
This is just the characteristic. Just like Bender's character. It was like, yeah, he was a masher. He wasn't good with girls. He got fresh with them. Wow, am I old? He got fresh.
Right.
He wasn't woke.
I hate that term.
I do too. But I mean, that was his character. It's not saying you need to emulate that, which is like that's who he was. It was an accurate representation.
Yeah, we knew that guy. Everybody knew that guy. In high school.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you knew the girl,
guy.
and you knew the nerd, and you knew the jock.
Yep. And the crazy guy.
There was. We didn't talk about it during the 70s episode, but yeah, there's been a lot of stuff even this past week. Louis C.K. has started doing comedy shows again, and people coming out saying, "Hey, he made some jokes, I guess, about the kids at Parkland who survived the school shooting there," which everybody agrees, tragic event.
Right.
He made a joke. Ricky Gervais came out in support of him. I think Rob Schneider, which really, do you need him in your corner? But
you can do it.
Exactly.
That was what he posted on Twitter, I think.
Somebody, when we were talking about the 70s last week, we had talked about that power block that CBS had. It was so controversial that the FCC came out and said you need a family hour. So they had the family hour that CBS or that the FCC said television networks would have to have where they don't have questionable content for children. CBS was, of course, opposed to this, and they rolled all the stars out. Carol O'Connor was there, Mary Tyler Moore, and Alan Alda. And one of the things Alan Alda said was, if you censor a joke, it makes it that much easier to begin censoring thoughts and ideas if you just start with that joke. And I thought that's interesting because even back then, it's people in the media, people in the arts saying you cannot censor expression. And we're still having that fight today.
Right.
That doesn't mean the joke is going to be in good taste. That doesn't mean it's even funny or not just something crass. But if you start going around and censoring that, it does make it that much easier to then, like Alda said, you can now censor somebody's idea or say, you know what, your thinking doesn't line up with the rest of the group, so we're going to have to go ahead and tell you can't say that. You can't express those thoughts. And so, it becomes Demolition Man at that point.
Exactly. Ricky Gervais came out like just recently, like a couple days ago.
Yeah, it was just 2 days ago.
Yeah, with the same issue basically. Yeah. His thoughts on it were like, hey, you don't have to censor yourself. You can say whatever you want. It's just how much you care about what other people think.
Sure.
If you don't give a fuck, then say whatever you want.
Have you seen his last stand-up special he did on Netflix?
Yeah.
And he addresses that there. And he talks about a woman said, "Do you think rape is funny?" He goes, "No, I think it's horrible." And he goes, "But a joke about it might be funny."
Right. Right.
And he's like, but don't confuse what actually happened with the joke about something that happened.
Yeah.
And he makes his living making controversial jokes. It's what he does. It's what Louis C.K. does. So for people to be shocked that that would happen. Now, then what did Ellen Barkin tweet? She came out against him. I hope Louis C.K. It was like he gets raped or dies or something. Yeah. Well, where's the people saying she can't say that?
Right.
She's advocating violence against another human being.
Right. That's okay.
So,
yeah.
Right, because her thinking lines up with the majority, or her thinking is on the side of people who think he's horrible, which tends to be the groupthink.
Right. But it all goes back to, if you don't like it, don't watch it, don't listen to it. And we're moving past that as a culture because, it all has to line up. We all have to think the same way.
Right. And I don't think she should be censored for saying that. If she wants to say that she wants him to get burned or whatever it was she said, all right, say it. That's your opinion. You are completely entitled to say that. I don't think that should be censored.
Right.
But just as easily, people could get offended by that.
Yeah, totally.
So it's, in some ways, all these things that happened in the 80s that we've advanced from technologically, all these things that really started and were the grandfather of the technology we have now, we've come so far, but in a lot of ways we're regressing.
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
Because we're now more uptight. We're more I think sensitive.
The world's gotten a lot smaller with the advent of the internet and social media,
right.
And now everybody has an opinion, and a lot of people will share an opinion, even if it's not necessarily the right opinion or the opinion that everybody should share.
Do you remember that episode of The Orville? We were talking about that before the show.
Yeah.
The one where the whole society is based on upvotes or downvotes, and if you get
right.
enough downvotes, you die.
Right.
And like, well, how do you know if somebody should get downvotes? Well, the group tells us.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, based on the opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, everybody having an opinion isn't the same as fact.
Exactly, yeah.
That's not the same as having actual knowledge. It's just what a bunch of people think.
Right.
Based on, whatever.
Yeah. That's scary stuff.
It is, because that's kind of the way things are going.
Yeah. It's definitely that. That's a big, giant commentary on social media. Very much so, because that, social media rules the roast. If someone doesn't like something, you got news shows now that have the tweets going live.
I hate that.
I hate that.
I tune in to watch the news to get information. I don't care what Carl in Sandusky has to say.
Right.
I really don't. But here's his tweet telling me his 2 cents on the news.
Right.
Like, why do I need that?
And this is probably the same douchebag that's like got 1 million Yelp reviews, and it's that guy. There's nothing better to do.
It brings out everybody's troll.
Yeah, totally.
And so people, there's no point of arguing anything on the internet, on Facebook, on any social media. There's no reason for any of it. You're not going to change anybody's mind. You just get into this pissing contest.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, but man, everybody gets so amped up for it.
Yep.
The worst, or I can't say the worst, but some of the worst is any of the nerd sites.
Right.
Where it's just, oh, hey, look, I just saw this cool trailer for Captain Marvel, and man, I'm looking forward to it. This movie's going to suck. Look at that.
Right.
At 3 minutes in, this part was piece of shit. Look at the CGI. You're like, you know what? Just go back to masturbating in the basement. It's like, just stop.
And here we are talking about Zack Snyder every episode, practically.
That's different. That's different.
Yeah.
Because we're not shitting on anybody else's opinion.
Right. It's just our own opinion. So
this is all our opinion, which if people tune in, they should figure out this is the opinion of these 2 middle-aged guys.
Right.
But it's not like we're sitting there if somebody's like, hey, Zack Snyder's great. Like, no, he's not. You suck. You're an inferior human being.
And then you got guys like Jeff Greiner who post stories on Facebook from The Onion, and people get upset because they think it's real. I'm like, come on, are you kidding me?
How, to this day, how people think stuff from The Onion is real.
It cracks me up so much when people do see it and think it's real. I think it's
the
best.
thing I got. One other thing, and I've mentioned before, I have people who post on both sides of the political spectrum, so I think I have a good rounded group of people on there. But when people post stuff about how Trump makes up fake news, or basically my liberal friends, my Democratic friends,
right,
who will post stuff about Trump's talking about fake news, and then they post some stupid fucking story, and you look at the website, you're like, okay, look, this is clearly fake news. This is not even a real website. Like, come on. You're just feeding into it now.
Yeah, feed the monster, man. Feed it. The media monster.
Have you ever seen anything online where you're like, oh, yeah, that came from Russians?
Yeah, always.
You're like, that's not. The eagle-eyed patriot. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of stuff like that.
There is.
Well, we have trolled the 80s. We have reminisced. We hope you've enjoyed going down memory lane with us. Maybe you did as well. Or maybe you got to wait till next week and we talk about the 90s. Then you can go down memory lane with us at that point. But until then, you can reach out, talk to us, give us your opinion, some thoughts. If you got any show ideas, Brandon is going to tell you where you can do that. Brandon.
Well, hey, you can go to the Twittersphere or Twitterverse? Twittersphere.
Oh God, are you talking to me?
Yeah. What do you call it? Is it
I don't
the Twitterverse?
No, it's I guess the Twitterverse.
Yeah, the Twitterverse.
Why not?
And tweet us at Love to Hate Pod, or you can go to Instagram and tweet us there at Love to Hate Pod. And also don't forget to go to Facebook and like our Facebook page.
I think you just said they could tweet us at Instagram.
Did I?
Yeah.
Motherfucker. Tweet us on Twitter at Love to Hate Pod. Go to Instagram and Instagram us there at the give us the gram.
On the gram.
Gram it at the Instagram at Love to Hate Pod. Go to Facebook and like our page. Give us comments on Facebook. And don't forget to listen to us on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, or check us out on YouTube.
Tune in next week, ladies and gentlemen, when two middle-aged men will talk about the 90s.
I love the 90s.
We'll see you then.
Shut up.